So thanks for everybody for joining live. If you're watching this in the recorded format, that's good too. What we'll be going through here today is sort of a more advanced version of setting up MagiCapture. So the premise of this is that you've already got your Fidesic account created. You've already done your syncing to Business Central. So you've already got your vendors, your dimensions, all the basics are taken care of. You're now set up and ready to actually send some invoices into the system for capture. So I'll be going through a couple different options on how you can do that, what the best options are, what most people use, what the configuration looks like, and hopefully in just a few short minutes, we'll get you set up to actually start processing some invoices. So if you haven't already, you can log in at app.fidesic.com and you'll just use that login that you created during the BC setup process, going through the wizard. You should be able to use that same email address. If you have any troubles logging in, of course, you can reset your password and get help, or you can hop on the live chat to get help if you can't figure out how to get in. But I'm going to assume that you're already in, and now we'll go through and actually talk about the MagiCapture setup. So MagiCapture, in a nutshell, is the program on our end that looks at invoices, scrapes the data off of those invoices, and then sends them out for approval routing. There are a couple different ways that you can get invoices into the system, into that capture, and I'll be going through each of those in turn here today. So in my opinion, the best and by far the most common way to get invoices into our system is using our created email addresses for capture. So to check those out, you can go to your gear icon and go to your company settings. And then down here, it's going to have your AP inbox addresses listed. The one that you're looking for here is going to have OCR in the subdomain on it. That is the email address that is going to actually capture the data off of the invoices. That's your MagiCapture address. If you're using the free version of Fidesic, we're going to auto-generate the part before the @. And if you're on the paid version, you can customize that right here. It'll give you the option to adjust that prefix on your email for where you want to send them. So again, if you're in demo mode, it's just going to have an auto-generated one. Once you switch over to the paid one, you'll get the opportunity to create your own. But this address is just an email address. You can give this to your vendors to have them submit invoices directly. You can have your staff forward emails. You can set up a forwarding rule with your IT department for everything that has attachments to your existing AP address to forward it on to this inbox. There's lots of different configuration options, but the key thing to keep in mind is everything sent to this is going to be sent into Capture. That is the most common way to send it in, and that's what most people are going to do the vast majority of their invoices. So before I started this here today, I did send in an invoice to that capture to show you what the output of that process looks like. So when you send an invoice in there, give it 30 seconds, a minute, a couple minutes, however long it's going to take. It should be pretty quick. And then that invoice is just going to show up on your invoices received page as a new invoice that has been routed out for approval. So by default, the output of this invoice capture is going to go right into your approval workflow engine. So I'm not going to go through the workflow engine today. That'll be in a future video on this, but just know that the output is going to go directly into that approval queue. So whatever rules you have set up immediately out of that capture, that's where it's going to go. If you don't want that to be the case, you do have the option to turn on invoice confirmation, and that's going to create a totally new view over here, and then that's going to allow anybody to review the output of that OCR that has the correct permissions, and then validate it, give it a thumbs up before it actually enters the workflow. So that's configuration one that you can enable here. By default though, when you create your account, it's not going to have a confirmation phase, and it's going to go directly into the workflow. So just be aware of that. If we look at this invoice that I sent in here, I just sent this in this morning, and you can see that the output of our MagiCapture is an invoice. So we've got the attachment that we sent in. This is actually a JPEG that I just did a screenshot of. It could also be a PDF. It could be a crumpled up piece of paper. You took a photo with your phone, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to capture all of the data off of this invoice. So for some insight on what exactly we're doing in this capture, there are no templates for you to manage. All you need to do is adjust and approve your invoices, and that's going to start the feedback loop to gradually improve how our capture works. So we were able to find the correct vendor. We are going to be doing a vendor lookup as opposed to just randomly scraping a vendor name off of an invoice. We're going to capture the date, the terms, the document number. We're going to apply coding based on a combination of things that I'll get into in a little bit more detail later. And we're going to send it into the approval queue. So it's currently in an unapproved status, awaiting an approval by our controller up here, which you can see up here. So if you want to see invoices that are in unapproved status, you can go to invoices received, filter for unapproved, and this is going to show you everything that is currently awaiting someone's approval, and then once it's approved, it'll move through the rest of the process. So again, that's the most common way. Use that email, send it into Capture. The output of that Capture by default is going to be the workflow engine. If you want to turn on a confirmation phase, you have the option to do so to review ahead of time before it hits the workflow. So simple enough. That's option one. The other option and the other view that I want to show you is the invoice inbox. So first off, the invoices that are submitted to that capture address that I talked about previously. If you go to submitted to MagiCapture, anything that's currently pending processing of our MagiCapture will show up here. So if something gets stuck, if you check it immediately and it hasn't processed yet, everything is going to show up on this tab as submitted to MagiCapture. This will automatically clear out, so you don't really have to be aware of it. It just gives you more visibility into the process if you want to see what's currently pending the MagiCapture process. Now, on the All page, this gives you the option to upload invoices directly to this queue here. So again, before we hopped on, I went and did a choose file and grabbed my copy of an invoice, which is now in an unprocessed status. You can bulk upload. You can drag and drop a bunch of invoices onto this page, and they'll all queue up here. Anything in this all queue here is not going to be processed automatically by default. You can submit it to Capture by hitting this Send All to MagiCapture button, or if you want to submit an individual document, you can just hit the Send to MagiCapture button on each invoice. You also have the option to go into the invoice itself and manually enter it. I don't recommend it because MagiCapture is really good, but you do have the option to do so if you just want to hand key it in for whatever reason. That's great. It's still going to feed into the learning next time around if you hand key it in. So for this one, I can hit the Send All. So assuming you had 20 PDFs on your desktop, you dragged and dropped them, all of them loaded in here. You can then just hit this Send to MagiCapture button, and every invoice in this queue is then going to be captured and sent into either the approval workflow or the confirmation phase. Just like we saw before, it was just a different method to get them in. So you can upload them all here, go through, hit Send All to MagiCapture, and that's going to process everything in that queue just like you sent it into the email address. It's functionally the same. It's just the method that changed on that. So once that's processed, it will change its status and show up on your invoices received queue. You'll then have a list of that invoice that you just processed. So again, makes it easy. Invoice inbox, this is kind of your one-stop shop to actually check out what's going on. So the final method you can either get to by going to your invoice inbox and clicking on something that you've uploaded, or if you want, you can just go directly to enter invoice and grab an individual attachment. So this is another way to get invoices into the system, assuming you have the copy on hand. So just like on the other page, you can see that I can go through and enter this information directly. But of course, I'm probably not going to want to do that. And we've got our Send to MagiCapture button. This is going to send it to the same type of processing as the other methods, but it's going to do it as a one-off. So if I just click Send to MagiCapture here, that's going to submit that invoice. We're going to go through. We're going to scrape all of the data off of this invoice. And just like before, once we've processed this, this page is going to reload, show you a copy of the invoice that we just captured. So we can see everything that we just captured on this invoice Because we don't have that confirmation stage on, we've sent that directly into the approval workflow. So just like the other ones, we can see this is currently awaiting approval by the controller. So this is really the three different methods to get it into the system. There's that email address method that you can get to on the company settings page. It's the OCR email. You can bulk upload to invoice inbox using choose files or drag and drop a bunch of files and then hit that send all to MagiCapture button. Or you can go directly to enter invoice, upload the copy that you have on hand, and either enter it directly or, of course, hit that send to MagiCapture button and we'll capture the data for you automatically based on how you have it set up. So those are the three methods. To give you some more insight into how we're actually doing this, the thing that I want to highlight is just sort of how this process works. So if we look at one of these invoices, we can see that we picked a code, we picked a department, we picked a customer group. These are dimensions in your BC system. What we did as phase one of this capture is we took a look at your vendor card that we synced, and we took a look at what that recurring purchase line that was assigned to that vendor was. So it's about 50-50 in people that I've talked to whether or not you've set up these recurring purchase lines. If you've set them up and assigned to vendors, great. That's going to be what we're going to start using. If you have not, just by using Fidesic, we're going to automatically start to set these up for you. And these feed into MagiCapture as options for assigning lines to these invoices. So simply through the process of looking at your invoices, if you want to adjust this and then add multiple lines, adjust your dimension codes, adjust your GL codes, whatever you need to do, simply by doing that, that's going to update your vendor defaults, and that's going to feed into the MagiCapture engine for the next invoice that comes through. So you don't have to set up templates. You don't have to manually configure anything. Just use the system. Make sure that each individual invoice is correct, and you'll be all set. So that's the long and short of how to get started with MagiCapture. In the next couple videos, I'll be talking some more details on this. We want to kind of keep this in bite-sized chunks. We'll go through how to set up the workflow engine. And again, this all assumes that you've already set up the module in your Business Central system. You got it from AppSource. If you haven't, please go check out the other video that we have that comes prior to this. And go ahead, log in, start using some MagiCapture on your invoices. If you're on the free version, you do get 100 test invoices before we start to limit you. So log in, rifle your real world invoices in, adjust them, send it, do another round, and see how much it improves. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how quickly we learn and get better at this. So yeah, happy invoice processing, and I'll look forward to y'all in the next one.